So for us it came back to this feeling of ownership. Why weren't they taking ownership of what they were doing? Where was it lacking? It still wasn't progressing. So it had to do with a lot of problems, don't get me wrong. We were growing in size quite rapidly. We started off with a team of 3, we'd gone to 15, we were now pushing 30. The environments offered all the same problems that Afterburner did. House of the Dead environment, the Sonic environment, all had this. Here is an IP, here is a style, here is a look we're going for. You need to make it happen. You need to do the research. You need to find out how this is going to work. So they got so far. They got so far along the process. We got to a point where we had a level in place. It was looking good. It was looking okay. Say good. It was looking okay. But we got to this kind of 60% point whereby it was working and they were there, but they couldn't push past that into the final section where you get your polish, where the level comes to life, where it really starts to work, where it really starts to ping and pop. And where the kind of excitement a lot of the time is. A lot of the hard work is in these early stages, the basic modeling, the UV layout and the textures, but